All right, I've held off on saying this out loud now for a little while, but I think it's time that we finally ask the question. Are the American Express benefits actually the worst deal in credit cards? Now wait, before the Chase Sapphire Reserve hops in here and tries to take over this video, I have a few things that I want to say. Look, I love credit cards. I love the perks, I love the benefits, and I love the challenge of putting together a good strategy, filtering between the strong cards and the weak ones out there that are being marketed to all of us. However, when you look at the Amex portfolio as a whole over the last few years, something feels a little off. We've talked about this in passing, how their so-called value doesn't match what you're actually getting as an end user. Today, we're going to take a closer look at that. Not just the numbers that are flashed on your face on the screen, but the actual experience of trying to use their benefits. Let's get right into it. When we talk about Amex benefits, we're talking specifically about two main cards in their flagship lineup. The Amex Gold card, which is considered the ultimate foodie card, and the Amex Platinum card, which is pitched to you as the ultimate luxury travel card. While I might focus on these two cards in a lot of the examples I talk about here today, the style and the manner in which these cards are set up also extends to the rest of the Amex family. That includes cards such as the Delta SkyMiles Reserve or the Hilton Honors Aspire card. What all of these have in common is they all come with a long list of benefits, perks, partnerships, and statement credits. And on paper, it looks like you're getting a ton more value than the simple annual fee that you pay in to hold the card. It all seems like a no-brainer. Why wouldn't you pay $695 up front to get back over the course of a year $1,500? Or why wouldn't you pay $325 to get back over $500 in value, plus some really insane multipliers? But here's the problem. That value, it's completely misleading. Let's zoom in on the concept of misleading value. How about we focus on an easy target? The Amex Gold's $10 a month dining credit. You get $10 a month, $120 in total throughout the year to use at stores like Grubhub, The Cheesecake Factory, Goldbelly, Wine.com, and Five Guys. Now, if you use this directly, and this applies to the other credits as well, and you happen to eat at those brands outside of Grubhub, which we'll talk about here more in a second, I'll admit, you're going to get the full value, $10 a month up to $120 in a year. However, I don't know a lot of people personally who use Goldbelly or Wine.com, and I really don't know a lot of people who happen to eat at the Cheesecake Factory or Five Guys 12 times a year. So I'm going to make a rough assumption that the vast majority of people taking advantage of the Amex dining credit are hoping to use it through Grubhub, which gives you that variety and option to really go anywhere through the service. Here's the problem when analyzing the credits on what you get on the surface based on what you actually get out. Nobody speaks on that Grubhub prices are about 15 to 30% above the actual price you'd pay off service. Of course, everybody suggests going to take the food out yourself after ordering through Grubhub to save on those service fees and delivery charges. However, still, a lot of that percentage of markup remains in the order, thus evaporating the value offered to you on the Amex Gold. Here's a pretty striking example showing the same Chipotle chicken bowl ordered twice, once through Grubhub and once directly on the Chipotle app. Through the Chipotle app, it comes out to $24.19, probably a number that a lot of you are used to for an order for two. However, on the Grubhub app, again, same order, $32.04. That's $7.95 higher. That essentially means that your credit in this super realistic use case is valued at $2 for that difference. And if you want to get really into it, you're forfeiting those Chipotle rewards points, which could on that order basically be worth about $2. So are we potentially then looking at a credit where you think you're getting $10 towards your meal, feeling good up front, but after it's all said and done, it's really evaporated into nothing? Let's look at the Uber credit. This appears on many Amex cards. However, let's focus on the Gold and the Platinum card. On the Gold card, it's $10 a month. On the Platinum, $15 a month, and then it expands to $20 in December. Now, I'll start by saying that this one is decidedly better than the dining credit in my opinion. That's because there's no real substitution if you need to rideshare. You're not really going to get a cost advantage by hailing a taxi and not using the credit, as opposed to just Ubering and accomplishing the same thing. Because there's better value here, if you Uber just once a month, you can get the full value on both of these cards for the credit. However, and this applies to all credits, if you weren't going to Uber before and you're just using it as an excuse to pull out your card for transportation in a city, well, you're not getting that actual value back because you did prepay for this benefit up front. And unfortunately, the same thing on the dining side applies here. If you happen to use your Uber Cash on the Uber Eats side, that markup, that's still going to take that value and almost evaporate it to zero. Okay, now there's got to be some better credits in here. Let's keep exploring. What about the Saks credit? It's $100, just broken into semi-annual credits, which means you're getting a pretty good chunk of change twice a year, and it's not split up into monthly credits, so that, on the surface, does seem a lot better. Saks sounds cool, especially if you're someone like myself who doesn't do a lot of premium brand shopping, to say the least. However, what's not cool is the pricing that comes along with Saks Fifth Avenue. Premium, to say the least. And I wonder how many cardholders actually shopped at Saks before getting the Platinum card. 1%? Maybe 3% of them? I'm assuming it's not many of you, and we don't want $50 to go to waste. So let's see what we can actually get. Unfortunately, the results may surprise you. Even $50 at Saks doesn't get you very far. It's hard to get value from this for anything you'd want to buy. Your best strategy here is probably to combine your credit with some sort of Rakuten offer, which is usually really strong on Saks.com. And you can pair your Amex card with Rakuten to actually earn membership rewards points. And if you want to get started on that, I do have a $30 bonus link in the description. But I think that's actually the best way to get some real value out of this because the results are really sad. I typically recommend filtering by your gender, sorting by least to most expensive, and as you can see within your price range, it looks like you're going to land on a nice pair of socks or a plain t-shirt. All right, give me just a minute on the Clear credit. Now, I'll admit, this one actually frustrates me. $199 in value per year that people pretty much automatically tag that they're getting with this card. Clear, if you haven't heard of it, is essentially TSA PreCheck, and I'll go into that in a second. It gets you access to 150 plus Clear lanes at 59 airports in the United States, secure digital identity, and family under 18 can just join along in with you. Now, here's essentially my gripes. TSA PreCheck, which costs roughly about $80, gives you essentially the same service as your $199 Clear membership. Over my last 5 trips, going through TSA PreCheck, which is located right beside the Clear lane, TSA PreCheck takes about 5 to 6 minutes maybe to get through, whereas the Clear lane takes you maybe about 2 to 3. It's effectively the same exact experience. If we're counting for full value here, I just want to know how many people would have actually gone ahead and gotten Clear and purchased that for themselves, even if they didn't have the Platinum card. My guess is it's probably not a lot. And finally, I'm lucky, Clear is at my airport, but it's only at 59 in the United States, meaning that there are hundreds of airports that people like you and me use every single day that are just not included in this service in America. Counting this as $199 off of your annual fee, well, that feels a little bit overstated. And last but not least, here's a semi-serious question that I'd like some feedback in the comments on. Is Clear fully propped up by American Express? I always see 3 to 4 Clear agents standing around the gate, essentially doing nothing. And my question is, if the American Express Platinum card just didn't exist, would Clear even exist? Would anybody go ahead and pay for that service? Someone please let me know in the comments if you guys think that this would exist without Amex cardholders. Now, these are just a few examples as I go through the cards. Amex isn't giving you straight up value. They're giving you conditional value. And if you're willing to play their game and jump through the hoops and do everything you can to use the services, maybe you are getting something back, but it's probably not the full stated value. And I really want people out there to start to consider that, especially before jumping into an investment on an almost $700 card. Now, speaking of playing the game, let's talk about the tracking nightmare. This is the second half of the problem that you don't actually think about until you're holding one of these cards and the pressure starts to get to you that you haven't quite used the card like you thought that you would. Most Amex credits are broken down into monthly chunks. You got $10 here, $15 there, $12.99 on Walmart Plus. It's really endless. And others, like the Saks credit that we talked about, we're thankful it's broken down into a semi-annual credit. This one credit card could turn your entire calendar into a tracking process of how you've used your credits and when the next one refreshes. Unlike Capital One, and Chase is starting to become guilty of this as well, Amex thrives on breakage. That means their customers not using the benefits that they actually paid for. Amex knows that you'll get busy a few months here and a few months there, or your lifestyle will change and you'll just not naturally use the credits like you thought you would. That's why they split everything up. It's not generosity, it's business strategy. There's two potential ways to combat this, and neither are seamless. The first is you can create an Excel spreadsheet listing out your benefits and tracking them month by month to see your actual value at the end of the year for holding the card. The second's more automated. You can use a card management app like Card Pointers where you can seamlessly pop in and adjust the value of your benefits as you use them and let the app keep track of them for you over time. I have a discount code on a membership for that app down in the description as well. However, even if you use these, it's an extra product you have to invest in or an extra tracking method you have to create. It's still a hassle. Okay, let's wrap this up by talking about who this actually affects the most in a negative way. First of all, this just crushes anybody out there who reasonably values simplicity. If you're not into the idea of setting monthly reminders on your cell phone or constantly checking the app to see the status of your statement credits, these cards are not for you. And I would say that's probably most normal people out there who aren't into the credit card game. This is also not for people purely focused on ROI. If you're the kind of cardholder that wants to make sure you're definitely getting out more than you paid in, this is going to be a major source of frustration throughout the year. I'm not saying that kind of cardholder can't do it. In fact, those are usually the ones that Amex fears the most and hopes doesn't get their products. But they're at least going to struggle through the process of getting their positive ROI back. What about those of us who are budget conscious as well? Let's be honest, there's a lot of people out there who aren't actually going to set up their spreadsheet or card management app and do the cost comparison at the end of the year like I did above for some of these credits. If you're trying to be budget conscious and intentional about your spending, being lured into using apps like Uber Eats or Saks Fifth Ave, well, that's probably going against your natural goals for the year. As we showed, these things are overpriced and they might actually be costing you more. And finally, this overall trend of issuers packing their cards full of benefits, this actually hurts viewers of this channel, which is why I'm so passionate about this. Generally speaking, people who watch and follow along with this channel, we like to focus on two main things. One, getting the most value possible at the end of the day out of your credit cards. Two, using credit cards to create different experiences that you may not have had, while also not hurting your finances in the process of doing so. All of these additional credits and benefits are still completely possible to get positive value from. I don't want to get that mixed up. However, when Amex does this on multiple cards and does this consistently, it severely limits your ability and my ability to manage multiple cards effectively to still achieve those two goals. Realistically, you're probably limited to one, maybe two before things just get out of control, and that's not your fault. The company and the setup is just simply making that management nearly impossible. So, are Amex benefits indeed the worst deal in credit cards? Well, I can confidently say if they're not the worst deal, they're certainly the most frustrating. And Amex is certainly to blame for starting this new trend of adding benefits and credits that other issuers are copying that propose a stated value on the card that is just far, far, far from the actual value you're getting out. So let me know in the comments where you're at mentally. Are you still chasing and pursuing these benefits, and is it worth it to you at the end of the day? Or have you made the switch already? Is simpler just better for your lifestyle, and you've given up this temporarily or said, I'm out completely on chasing all of these credits? If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and don't be afraid to share this with someone considering getting that platinum card. Finally, don't forget, the real flex is not pulling out a platinum card when you pay for something. It's paying off your balance in full on time every single month and not paying 20% interest for the privilege of holding one of these cards. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.